Hey. Hello, so we have 22 participants. Hello, my name is Anthony Mayer and I'm from the Rotary Club of Latitude 38. We're going to sit for about 2 minutes to let other people join us, and then we will start. I'll do the introductions and we will start the presentation. Okay. So I think we've got quite a few people in, 33 more people in now, and I will begin. So my name is Anthony Mayer. I am from the Rotary eClub of Latitude 38. The Rotary eClub of Latitude 38 presents this online speaker series as a joint project with the Rotary eClub of Melbourne. This unique online event is open to other community groups and service clubs. It's free to attend, and attendees may ask questions of the speaker in a webinar format through the Zoom platform. This webinar will be recorded and will be free to stream after the event. Welcome Rotarians and guest attendees. My name is Anthony Mayer and I'm the founder of Online is Easy, a web design and digital strategy and online empowerment business servicing the eastern seaboard of Australia. I joined the Rotary Club of Traralgon Central in 2002, and I've been involved with many Rotary programs over the years, including Youth Exchange, and I've been on the Model United Nations Committee for the last 9 years. I joined the Rotary Club of Traralgon Central, 3 years ago. I moved away from Traralgon due to the amount of travel I was doing for my business, and I just decided to join the District 9820 eClub. My experience of Rotarians and technology has always been akin to oil and water. This situation is reflected in our wider community as well, and in my business, Online is Easy, I facilitate a lot of digital education to solve this problem. Increased digital literacy and engagement have many extra benefits, including a huge reduction in costs and a huge reduction to the environmental impact. Think planes. Our speaker today joined us from the far side of the globe, without the usual expenses associated with engaging such a professional and high caliber speaker, without travel time, accommodation, or international flight. As an e-club, we have a mandate to lead digital transformation. This means increasing the digital capacity and lifting the digital literacy of the existing Rotary cohort, so that we can meet and engage with new people who use technology natively. It means intelligently using innovative technologies to build Rotary's connections, enhance opportunities, project effectiveness, and our reach. So tonight, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Stephanie Urchick. Dr. Stephanie Urchick is the Rotary International Director-elect and Chair of the RI Planning Committee, and was an engaging and inspiring speaker earlier this year as the Rotary International President's representative in the 2019 Victorian Multidistrcit Conference. Stephanie has been a Rotarian since 1991, and among a long list of credentials and achievements has been named Rotarian of the Year by both her district and her club. Stephanie is a change agent of Rotary, and she offers insight into the service club landscape today as she unpacks Rotary International's new action plan in this webinar, Transforming Rotary's Future Through Strategic Change. Note that questions can be asked through the webinar portal at the bottom. You have a little button down the bottom that says Q&A, and they'll be presented either during the webinar or at the end. Stephanie. Oh, by the way, sorry, excuse me. And I'd just like to introduce Thomas Crosby from Byteman Solutions, who will be helping me run the panel and running the slides for the seminar. Thank you, Thomas Crosby.
Well, hello, good day. I'm so happy that all of you have decided to find some time this evening to learn more about Rotary's strategic plan. Before I begin, let me apologize because last Monday I had shoulder surgery to repair rotator cuff. So I have this awful contraption in front of me, and it limits me. I'm right-handed, and of course it's my right shoulder. So Anthony's going to do his best to help get through the slides on that end, and hopefully we can capture things and make it work together. So what I'd like to do this evening is share with you a little bit about why Rotary decided to look at a strategic plan, how we did that, and where we are with the plan. So let's go ahead and get started. So we all have different stories about what brought us into Rotary and what keeps us in Rotary, but we do share a common bond. Next. And that common bond is our vision statement, which both boards approved in 2017. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change. This last part of the sentence is the most important across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. This is the first time ever in any of our documents where we recognize the fact that when we do good through Rotary, it makes us feel good. We get that psychic income. Next. So together, we are people of action, whether it's individual action that we take or action that we take collectively, we are people of action. Next. So as people of action, we know that fulfilling a vision means that we need a plan. Whenever any of us face a big challenge in our professional lives, we don't tackle it without first being prepared. We're the ones who say, okay, we need a plan. And this is equally important. We're the ones who bring everybody together to make that plan, create it, and then to put it into action. So I'm here to talk to you about our plan for Rotary's future, because we know there's a bigger gap between who we are as an organization today and who we need and want to be in the future. Next. We began developing this plan by taking a look in the mirror and asking some hard questions and making self-assessments. We conducted focus groups and surveys and asked more than 1 million people, Rotarians, non-Rotarians, leaders, people who have participated with Rotary in all kinds of programs, asked all these people across the world to share their input with us. And our goals were shaped by the feedback of those who know us best and who already share our commitment to achieving our vision. We learned that our members thought we need to become more nimble, more open to new ideas, and more open to faces, different faces and diversity. And we need to get better about capitalizing on changing technologies and trends and how to maximize that. Today is an example of how that works. the fact that, you know, there are lots of miles between us, but we're able to communicate. Next. So in addition to looking internally, we also realized that we had to look outside of Rotary. And here's what we found out when we surveyed the general public. We did that in 2015. We talked to people in 15 different countries around the world. And we asked them what would motivate them to join a service organization. And here's what they told us. Next. These are the things that they would consider: a sense of purpose and an opportunity for serving the community, causes that are important to them, an established reputation, an organization that had a strong heritage, and finally, programs that make a difference locally. That sounds a little bit like Rotary, doesn't it? Well, in fact, I think it sounds a lot like Rotary. Next. So we also asked if they had heard of Rotary and found out that our global awareness is outstanding. In fact, 3 out of 4 people surveyed were aware of Rotary. Among the world's leading social service organizations, we're in the top 3 in terms of awareness. And people know enough about us to know that we do good in the world. Now, here comes the challenging part. Next. When we surveyed people and asked them, we found out that most of them only had a vague idea of exactly how we do good in the world. Only 35% saw Rotary as an organization for people like them. Next. And just 25% of people surveyed said they knew somebody in Rotary. All of us on this call know how this is playing out in real life. Membership has dropped as much as 18% in North America and other regions of the world as well. We set a record in 2018 for the number of people who both came into Rotary, more people than ever in that year joined Rotary, but also more people than ever left Rotary. It's not a good record to have. Next. As we move closer to polio eradication, we have to wonder, what are the news stories that will unite us, that will motivate us, that will tell the rest of the world about our impact? Next. And then where is the next generation of leadership coming from? We're in the middle of a huge demographic shift, but while the rising generations share our passion for community and for making a difference, they have plenty of other places to go to channel that passion. You can take the device that you're using right now and simply, with a few clicks, find some place somewhere where service is happening, and you can join that if you wanted to. Next. So here's where we are today. We're the undisputed pioneer of service leadership, grounded in person-to-person connections. And yet we find, increasingly, people are not coming to us to make those connections. I know this isn't easy to hear, but I have good news. We have a plan. Next. And since we're people of action, it makes sense that this plan is called the Action Plan. It's a plan that is clear about the challenges facing Rotary. It acknowledges that difficult conversations we've had at Rotary and continue to have will lead us. Our action plan offers this framework, and it gives us space to surface and address all the potential disconnects between the goals and needs of our clubs and our districts and our zones and our Rotary headquarters. Change is difficult. Next. But the action plan is also driven by a sense of optimism, a belief that we are and will continue to be essential to our communities, to the world, and to humanity. Next. Don't we all want this? We want a stronger, more effective Rotary, a Rotary that's more inclusive and open, to new members and to new ideas, more adept at using partnerships, digital tools, and other resources to bring people together. Next. The action plan helps guide how we will achieve this. It draws on the remarkable capabilities we've developed in our own professional lives and careers. Above all, the capacity to listen to and learn from others. It respects that younger generations have different expectations about how to spend their time, who to spend it with, and what motivates them. And our action plan encourages us to use our collective global imagination to bring fresh ideas to the forefront. Next. This action plan is achievable, but also has a 5-year time frame that will push us, but not exhaust us. It's focused and to the point, just like you are. Next. The action plan has 4 priorities. 4. Each priority reflects the input, the feedback, and the hopes of current and former members. That includes people who are Rotary members, Rotary leaders, Rotaractors, alumni, youth exchange, Rotary staff, anybody who's had a connection with Rotary. In all, during the past 3 years, we reached out to more than 1 million people who are connected to Rotary in some way to ensure that our action plan priorities are the right ones and that they are also authentically Rotary. So the 4 priorities are these. Next. Increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. Next. Now let's look at each one in a little more detail and look at some of the ways we'll turn these priorities into action. Next. Our first action plan priority is to increase our impact. Our actions will answer these questions. What will our Rotary legacy be? How can we define and measure our impact? How can we do more good in the world? Next. Rotarians are effective problem solvers who create solutions that last because we invest in relationships. What all the leadership books today call building social capital. You know, I referred earlier to the fact that you can pick up your phone and find a place to go out and do service, a meetup or some activity happening. But what makes us different from those examples is that Rotary is built on fellowship. Sure, you can leave your home and you can go clean up a walk and then or park and come back. But what makes Rotary different is that we engage and we bond with people and we invest in those relationships. It's one of the key reasons that sets Rotary apart from other service opportunities. Next. And we know how to mobilize our networks, and we are constantly learning from our experience as we participate in clubs and in volunteer activities and manage our careers. Next. Throughout the fight to end polio, we've shown that we can do great things when we draw on our collective strengths. We've created solutions customized for the people they serve. We've evaluated results to learn from our successes and also from our setbacks. We've forged partnerships with global health partners. When we found that infrastructure was missing, we built it. Next. This is our legacy. And it's also a model we will use again and again and again in pursuit of our goals. Educating the world's children, ensuring equitable access to water and sanitation, helping local economies grow sustainably, and so much more. Next. But in a data-driven world, legacies also have to be measurable. To increase our impact and provide even more proof of what Rotarians are capable of achieving, we have to be more data-driven. Next. This kind of measurement is best in almost every sector. Well, every sector. You probably do something like that in your own profession. You know, I studied leadership when I was in my doctoral program, and I remember reading so many leadership gurus saying, if you can't measure it, you can't management. So we know that current and potential partners, as well as younger professionals and younger Rotarians, want to see hard proof of impact. By documenting the metrics of our good work, we get a clear picture of results. We learn how to replicate and scale up our successes, and we can tell more compelling stories about the good that we do. Next. There's a lot that we can do at the club level also. We're going to encourage a greater sense of focus. Instead of clubs trying to do too many things and getting only halfway there, we want them to focus. We're going to help clubs, help them collect more information on community impact and do a pre and a post-activity evaluation so that they can tell more compelling stories about the impact they are making. Next.
So Stephanie, if I may, I'm just going to help start some questions off. What you've just explained sounds more like you're actually running a business model, which is test and measure. Has Rotary decided to adopt a more business thinking approach, not in making money, but in test and measure, making sure that what they do is effective? And you're going to bring that into the club's processes?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, you know, think about it, you know, Rotary was organized over 115 years ago. And the things that worked for us 115 years ago aren't necessarily the things that are going to work for us in the future. The world has changed and Rotary needs to change with it. And the most successful examples of organizations that thrive are those that have done exactly that. Test, measure, go back and review. So you're absolutely correct.
Thank you. And I'm just trying to get we've got 37 attendees here, which is pretty good. Anybody who would like to ask a question as Stephanie's going, feel free to enter it into the Q&A at the bottom. Thanks, Stephanie.
Sure, no problem, Anthony. So together, we're going to prove that our impact on the world has only just begun. I think for too long, Rotarians have done really great things, but they haven't talked about it, haven't taken any credit. They've just been satisfied with the fact that it made them feel good. Well, that's not enough to get our message out. Next, please. Our second action plan priority is to expand our reach so that we can grow our capacity to make an impact. People of action activate. They inspire and they give others hope that they can be part of the change that makes the world better. Together, we have to answer these questions. How can we share our values with new audiences? How can we inspire more people to take action? And what new models can we test that bring people together to experience the power and the magic of Rotary? Next, let's start with those who have already shown an enthusiasm for Rotary. I'm talking about Rotaractors. Next, they're energetic, passionate, and driven community-minded professionals. They're critical to the future of Rotary. You may have heard that in April of last year, this year, when the Council on Legislation met, they actually enacted and approved a proposal that elevated Rotaract. It moved Rotaract from being simply a program of Rotary to Rotaract clubs being partners in Rotary. And that's fabulous because there's no other group that knows more about Rotary and gets us than Rotaractors. That's why we're conducting research with them to find out what they want from Rotary and how we can attract others like them. Next.
Stephanie, someone has asked, are eClubs a growing trend in the US to make Rotary more attractive to a different generation or to a more digitally engaged generation? Are eClubs something that's on the plan?
eClubs are definitely one of the models. You know, Rotary, through actions taken by the council in 2016 and supported by affirmation at the 2019 council, you know, there are lots of models that we're experimenting with in Rotary. Obviously, there's the eClub. Well, it's no longer a pilot. It's actually a model that can be adopted. There are satellite clubs. There are passport clubs. There are cause-driven clubs. So lots of models. In fact, Rotary is testing something brand new. They're doing something with non-club participant model, which means a person can actually apply to become a Rotarian but not be attached to a club. That pilot is going to run in 2 places. It's going to run in and around the Chicago area where Rotary is headquartered, and then also in and around Houston in the United States, because we are going to have an international convention in that state. So that's going to be an interesting test pilot to see how does that work. So yes, Rotary is looking at all sorts of things, and the E-model has worked so well that they no longer consider it a pilot. It's a definite model and something that communities can incorporate.
Great, thank you. And
Sure.
I'll be curious to see how those pilots go with people who don't join as members. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, won't we all? That's going to be something very interesting. So at the corporate level, the RI corporate level, we're developing new products and, as I mentioned, all these alternative participant models. So regardless of where people live, they can join us and take action with us. At the club level, we need to actively invest in bringing in more people from different backgrounds. Diversity is our strength. I always say to clubs, look at your community, and if the makeup of your community is reflected in your Rotary Club, then you have a key to the future of your club. Next, please. There are so many ways to create new channels into Rotary. You can bring family members to events, you can involve local Rotaractors, you can update clubs' websites and social media pages. There are all kinds of leaders in communities, and we want those leaders connected to Rotary. So let's open up our thinking about who a leader can be, and then reach out to these new people. Start a dialogue about how we can mutually benefit from their participation in our activities and events. Next. Here's another way to revitalize our clubs and share our values with new audiences. Forming partnerships with new organizations and agencies. Already, Rotary clubs partner. They partner with schools and universities, with local chambers of commerce, with local governments, social service agencies, and other volunteer organizations. That's fantastic. But we need to encourage every club to do more to collaborate with and involve their communities. Let's look around our communities and see all the ways that people are connecting through shared professional goals, for example, or shared cultures or interests. And let's invite these people to connect with us too. When we think beyond traditional partnerships, we show we're an open, engaging organization. We demonstrate the positive change starts with welcoming the talents and ideas of others. Next. Build connections and opportunities that will allow...
I've got a question from David. He's like, how can a club push out old thinking and replace it with modern thinking? He's saying that will there be an action plan produced to help those who want to change in Rotary but don't have any concrete plans to make that change happen?
Well, David, you've hit the nail on the head. It's actually educating. You know, there are, you know, when we talk about clubs that are in existence now and are holding on to tradition, we call those legacy clubs. Legacy clubs are not going to go away because for many Rotarians, that's how they came into Rotary and that's the model that they like. What we have to do is help those clubs understand how to become more appealing and more attractive to other people in our communities who want to join in the magic of Rotary. So the key is always educating, helping clubs understand how change will make them stronger. You know, working in a university setting for as many years as I did, I was often confronted by people saying, oh, change management is hard. You know, people don't want to change. And I say that's baloney. People will change if you prove to them that the change you want in their behavior or attitude is going to make their life better, make their life more convenient. 20 years ago, when people talked about smartphones, I thought, oh yeah, well, you know what? I can't imagine my life today without one. So I think our job is always going to be to educate clubs and to show them how that will come about. And the second part of your question was, will there be an actual template or a plan? The answer to that part is actually no. And the reason for that is we can't create a cookbook or a cookie cutter approach to any of this, because Rotary is in 200 different countries. We have different languages, different cultures, and you as a community and as an area know your culture better. The culture in my club here in southwestern Pennsylvania is very different than clubs that are in the eastern part of Pennsylvania. And we're in the same state and speak the same language, but our cultures are different. So we need clubs to translate the steps that are presented under each priority, translate it for how that will make sense for your particular club. Does that help, David? I hope that answers your question. Next.
So Stephanie, I wish to be a bit of a devil's advocate here, in that I've been in Rotary since 2002, and the term legacy club, there are some people that just don't want to change. And previously I would say, my next statement would be something that I would say has not been taken up on, but with all the different options that Rotary has taken for clubs, I mean, legacy clubs, the people in them who want to do what they were doing can continue doing that, but Rotary seems to be allowing now the different types of clubs, the different ways that they use technology to exist, like the eClub, which means the people who want to do new things and in a new way with new thinking can just get on with it. Is that a fair statement? Legacy clubs will...
Yep, that's an absolutely fair statement. For those clubs who refuse to accept the education and change, ultimately you and I and everybody on the call know what's going to happen to that group. They're going to disappear. That's why we're so invested in the new models of Rotary, the e-clubs, the satellite clubs, the cause-driven clubs, the passport clubs, because these are the models that are going to help people like us who are on this call find a way to do the magic of Rotary in the way that suits us best.
And the new generation of people who are natively using technology that Rotary hasn't really grabbed onto yet. I've got a question from Gabe Howe, and Gabe is the president of the eClub of Melbourne, who is partnering with our Latitude 38 eClub in the E-Series. And Gabe's got two questions here. One, would one model fit and benefit all clubs around the world? And I'm not, yep. And I'm sorry, past president, Gabe, sorry about that, past president. Perhaps we need to emphasise members being a Rotarian first and a member of a club second. I think that's a statement, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's a statement. The first part I think I've addressed. There is no one model, and that's how this strategic plan is different from others. In the past, when Rotary has shared a strategic plan, it typically has been a template, if you will, and you know, clubs do this, do that, and then you're going to be in compliance and everything's going to be great. We found out by talking to so many people and getting, you know, 1 million points, 1 million connection points, people said to us in different ways that, you know, it has to be a translated process. It has to be, each priority has to be measured and evaluated and looked at in the way that will make most sense for where that Rotary magic is happening. So we can't produce one document or one flyer or one brochure that says do all of these things and everything will work. Instead, we're hoping that people like you, everybody that's on this call, will learn more about the priorities and hear how each of those priorities is important to our future, and then look for ways to take that to the club level, the district level, the zone level, and make sense for it in your region. You know, for instance, we talk a lot about membership and how in some places in North America, certainly in Australia, in Canada, it's hard to attract and get members into some of our clubs. If you go to India in some regions have waiting lists to get into clubs. So what are they doing differently? What is it about their club experience that is so irresistible that people wait in line to become a member? And again, that's based a lot in culture and how that country and how those regions approach the magic of Rotary. So each of us has to do that. We have to figure out what's going to make Rotary so irresistible where we are that people will want to say, okay, Monday at 7:30, this is where I need to be, because that's where all the change makers are and that's where the magic is happening and our world is changing. Okay, so
I've got a question here from Amrit Singh, who is the past president of the Rotary Club of Southbank, which is in District 9800, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And his question is, as we are intending to expand and grow, number one, what is our thinking to ensure that we recruit, retain quality rather than quantity of service-orientated members as the plan is reaching out to the masses, if the plan is reaching out to the masses? And two, plus making Rotary affordable, particularly for those who want to serve but can't afford to make the gradual increase in dues, young families, retirees and others. So I don't know if that was worded properly, but I think it's talking about dues and fees.
Okay, so the first part was, remind me what the first part was.
What is our thinking to ensure that we recruit, retain quality rather than quantity?
Yeah, okay, so Rotary has a lot of guiding principles that are never going to change. We're built on the four-way test. We're built on 5 core values. None of those will change. None of those should ever change, because that's really the roots of the organization. You know, in my mind, when I talk about culture and climate, they really remind me of a picture of a tree. The things that are below ground, the roots, are the guiding principles of Rotary, our object of Rotary, our four-way test, the core values, fellowship, leadership, integrity, diversity, service. Those things will never change. All right, the things that are above the ground are the things that are related to climate and atmosphere and how we do things and social media, all that. And that's where the majority of what this plan is talking about is built on. It's changing those things to make us more appealing. So you're absolutely right. When we look at the magic of Rotary and we look at people of action, you know, we look at people who understand the needs of others. You know, we want people who are like us, who understand and feel personally and professionally, you know, how do we deliver on the needs of others? So that will never change. The second part of your question about dues is something that's very keen to me as well. And I need to tell you that everything is on the table. When we talk, and we'll get to that priority, but you know, all things that are important to the life of a Rotarian came through all of the surveys, and the cost factor was definitely one of them. So Rotary as an organization is aware of that. And there are some things in play already in North America, looking at reducing the number of meetings, reducing and combining things. The fact that we're doing this call the way we're doing it today, there's more and more use of technology for learning and development. So that's really an issue that is on everybody's radar, because you're right. You know, if we're going to attract young professionals are people who have commitments, financial commitments. Typically, we have mortgages, we have children, we have educational costs, we have our building our careers. So Rotary as an organization is paying attention to that, and all things that impact the cost of membership are on the table.
Great, thank you. I do have one more here from Peter Simcock, and Peter is actually from my old club, from the Rotary Club of Traralgon Central. And he says, populist leaders and governments are on the march across the world, and countries are becoming more inward looking. How does Rotary continue to grow and help people in this climate?
By staying true to our core values and our mission, and the fact that we are Rotary International, the fact that we do acknowledge that we have 200 different countries, we have different languages, different regions, different cultures, and recognize that the actions that we take and the possibilities for action have to be related to those different regions. What doesn't change is our value system. It doesn't matter what country you're in, we're always going to be interested in fellowship. Rotary started with fellowship, and it ends with service. Most people, by our survey research, said that they came into clubs because they were looking for networking or mentoring or some other form of the word fellowship, friendship. And then they stay because they are interested in and get a lot of value out of service, hands-on service, and making the world a different place. That's never going to change.
Great, thank you. I've got some more questions. I'll let you keep going with your presentation though, because they're more comments.
Okay, so we left off with the fact that we have to build connections and opportunities. So our third action priority is enhanced participant engagement. Our actions here will answer these questions. How can we make sure Rotarians find long-term value in their membership? What would improve the Rotary experience? And we've already talked about some of that. What skills could people learn through Rotary? And how can we better develop our leaders? Next. As people of action, we strive to understand what's important to other people. But just like the people and the communities we serve, our fellow members need to know that they are seen, that they are heard, and they are valued. They're seeking experiences that feel both personally and professionally relevant. And in some cases, we're not delivering on that need. You know, many times people come into a club and they, like I mentioned before, they are interested in learning new skills or developing their careers. But when a club doesn't pay attention to the needs of people coming in, and then those needs aren't met, you know what happens? People vote with their feet. They simply leave the club. And more times than not, you know, when we do exit surveys or, you know, simply say, well, why did you leave a club? people tend to say what they think you want to hear, and it's hard to get at the truth. That's one of the reasons we engaged in focus group study and didn't rely just on surveying. We went to other methods, in-depth interviewing, focus groups, lots of different ways to get at what really is the issue. For those of you in professions, if you've used focus group study, you know they use that a lot in market research, because when people are together in an environment and a topic is discussed, one person may make a comment and that generates another person to open up. It's like peeling away the layers of an onion, so to speak. So,
Stephanie, did most of those focus groups and research, was it mostly done in the US or has it been done around the world?
No, we had partnered with an international firm by the name of Grant Thornton, and they did have offices around the world. So yeah, this was global research. It was not US based.
Great, thank you. And just anyone who's asking questions, there's a few in there. If you want to upvote them, so if you look at the questions that are there, if you click on the side, you can upvote them, because there's a couple in there now. But I'm going to leave Stephanie to continue with the presentation. We'll ask some more at the end, so make sure we don't run out of time.
Okay, so this enhanced participant engagement, it's really aimed at making sure that we give our members meaningful opportunities so that they can evolve and they can grow with us, both personally and professionally, throughout their entire Rotary life. Next slide. But we don't want to stop with just our members. We want to improve the overall Rotary experience for anyone who affiliates with us. And we should take nothing for granted. We need to look at every encounter as an opportunity to show our people what Rotary can do for them as individuals and as members of our communities. Next. So we'll create space for members, for participants, and the community at large to give regular feedback on their experiences and needs. We don't want to wait for a community need to present itself to us. We want to be proactive and become known as the people who spot opportunities for positive change that nobody else sees. Next. And then we want to take a hard look at what happens when people volunteer with us or attend our events. Are we doing everything we can to say, we're thankful you're here, you matter to us? You know, as an aside, one of the things that happens for me locally, when my club does a community service activity, I frequently will have friends who say to me, oh, that sounds like a really great idea. Can I come and help? These are people who right now really don't have an interest or time or for whatever reason can't jump into a club, but they like the opportunity to serve. So in all cases, I say, of course. In fact, our club has shirts. We made t-shirts that say, I'm a fan of Rotary. And so whenever we invite participants to come in, we have people actually using those shirts. So just another way that we say to people, you know, we want you to be aware of what Rotary is doing. Yes, you can participate, but we keep that door open. So if they wanted to jump in, they could. Okay, next. So together, we're going to recommit to putting needs, expectations, and growth of our participants at the center of all we do. And again, remember, participant can be a person in our club, but it can also be a beneficiary of our activity. Next. And then our final action plan priority is to increase our ability to adapt. And so our questions here will answer these questions. Next. How can we adapt faster to a changing world? How can new perspectives strengthen Rotary? What new ideas could create lasting change? We're all inventive, entrepreneurial, and resilient, and that's why we're people of action. And because we share those qualities, new approaches to our organizing principles won't threaten us. They won't threaten the sense of who we are. It's time for us to seek fresh opportunities, to embrace innovative ideas and take calculated risks. We must create more paths to leadership, welcome new voices, and simplify how we operate. You know, when I was chairing the Strategic Planning Committee, which I've had to jump off now that I'm a director, there was a member of my committee. He was an older gentleman from Africa. And at one meeting, we were simply talking about leadership and new voices and diversity. And he said where he's from, between the club member level and the president of Rotary International, there were 29 steps. He said, I won't live that long. I could never do that. So we have to become more nimble as an organization. If we have that many steps, there's an issue with our structure of governance. So that also is on the table. So we just have to simplify how we operate. Next. We're already tackling some of the big operational issues. We're going to look at governance. We're going to look at committee structures, business processes, and that includes the secretariat level as well as club, zone, and district. Everything, as I mentioned before, everything is on the table. Next. Now, many of you have been through this kind of deep dive into internal processes in your own companies and organizations. And you know it isn't glamorous, and you know it's hard work, but you also know it's absolutely essential if we want to create a strong foundation for innovation, for sustainability, and for growth. Next. We should also encourage our clubs to take a fresh look at club governance and look at ways to streamline it. They can create a fund to take some risks and to try out new activity ideas. They can host a club meeting in a new location and at a new time. They can involve non-Rotarian advisors in club board meetings to gain new and different perspectives and ideas. So the ideas are limitless. Next. Together, we stay true to ourselves and stay ahead of change in our next 115 years. Next. So I've shared a little bit more about our collective vision for the future. And I hope you can see how this action plan speaks to all of us at every level of Rotary. It's meant for us to look at from our individual Rotarian experience to our club experience on up. And I think now you see that while each one of these priorities has to be owned by all of us, we don't have to address them in the same way. Next. Let's play to our strengths as leaders, as clubs, and as members. There's so much we can do at the corporate level in terms of operation and infrastructure, but there's also so much that we can do at the club and person-to-person level so that every individual who engages with us has a meaningful, valuable, and fulfilling Rotary experience. Working together, doing what each of us does best, we can make a stronger Rotary and change more lives and more communities for the better. Next. For the next 5 years, for us to be transformational as well as we have to be, each and every one of us is going to have to take on the role of action plan champion. So one of the things that I hope each of you will do today, having had an opportunity to listen a bit more and to learn more about our strategic plan, I hope you'll go to your club. I hope that you may consider using the 4 priorities as a club meeting one day and actually ask club members to provide some input on how they think each of those can translate to the club level and what kinds of things under each of the priorities could your club take hold of and make it come to life. Next. I know you can do this because you've already proven yourselves to be real champions. Champion the way you advocate for Rotary, champion your leadership, and champion the inspiration that you provide to other club members. Next. So as action plan champions, we set an example by responding to change. We actively shape Rotary's culture and will guide Rotary through our next century of service. Next. So if you have additional questions about the action plan or how you can get involved or how to stay updated on the progress of what's happening, I encourage you to visit the Rotary website. You can see it there, rotary.org/strategic plan. There you'll find information. You'll see more about some of the activities that I've mentioned, some of the pilot projects, how approaches are being translated in different regions, and you can stay up to date and get the most current information. Next. So I want to thank you. Thank you for being on the call and being an action plan champion. I hope that together we can carry out Rotary's vision. That vision says that, you know, we're going to create a better world. We want to show the world what it means to be people of action. So thank you very much for listening, for your questions, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that have popped up. Anthony?
That's great. So I am excited by your talk, Stephanie. I think it's great. And I think that I've got some questions here from people. Let's just see. So that's more of a statement. If we if we record new members, so if we have record new members, then recruitment may not be the problem. Why are new members leaving? Is it because we are recruiting the wrong people? Is it because we're not looking after them properly once they join? And you did, so the question Gabe said, have we done research on this? And I think the answer is yes, you have done research on this.
We have done research, and I think it's a little bit of both. I think in our most recent surveying, part of the reason most alluded to by respondents was the fact that they weren't getting what they had hoped from the Rotary experience. You know, when people join with a Rotary club, there's an expectation, and when that expectation isn't met, they leave, they take off, and they don't necessarily let us know why. So I think that's one reason. I think it's a big reason. So we have to pay attention to our value proposition, certainly.
I've just had a really good question here from Amatul Singh. Will you put your hand up for the next RI president and be the first female international president?
Well, you know, I never aspire to anything. I don't know what the cards hold for me. I've been in Rotary for 30 years now, and I simply, if Rotary needs me to serve and I'm available, I say yes. So we'll see what happens. I can't say what the future is. I just started my term as a Rotary director on the 1st of July, and so I'll be in this position for 2 years. And it's the one thing that I hadn't done in Rotary. I've been a trustee, obviously a governor, or zone positions, but I looked and I thought that's one way that I have not yet served Rotary. So if I interview and if I'm selected, I'll say yes because I'm available. So here I am.
I get the feeling that everybody here thinks that you should probably interview. I've got Rosemary Hamilton saying, who is a non-Rotarian, a friend of mine who's come on board tonight. She says, "Thank you, Stephanie." And if they're like we are a little bit early, I think, or 8 o'clock. We're actually about 15 minutes earlier than intended. But we've had the most people online that I've seen in a Rotary online event. There's been 40 people joining us tonight, so I thank you for that. And I certainly, like, everything's on the table. I think that's very exciting. And I like the concept of positive change that no one else sees. So I'm going to continue with my action plan champion as a member of the eClub to do more of this sort of education. So
Great.
I think it's been great. Now, does anyone else have any more questions before we close down?
And thank you, Anthony and Thomas, for making the webinar work. I appreciate it. I am not one of those digital natives, so I appreciate all of your help with the technology. It's fabulous.
Yeah, we're very, very happy to help you. Thomas, you can wave to people. Where are we? Start your video. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you all.
Good on you. And I would just like to remind everybody now. So firstly, thank you very, very much, Stephanie. We really, really appreciate you joining us and giving us your insights. I think it's been really interesting for me, and I really appreciate it. So for people who are interested in next month, our online speaker series, hoping you still have me because one of my screens just disappeared. Oh, there we go. Yep, so next month we have Nikki Min on the 2nd of September, and she'll be talking about out of the depths of human trafficking. She runs a charity that helps young girls in Cambodia out of human trafficking and into education. So with that, again, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Gabe Howe, who has partnered with us from the eClub of Melbourne, and to Grant Ellers, who is the president of Latitude 38 for humouring me, and for District 9820 for supporting this. With that, we'll go. Thank you very much, Stephanie, again.
You're most welcome. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.